Welcome to the NCDWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI Guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 210 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. On today's episode, I am looking back at the last 9 episodes and my biggest takeaway from the Warriors in the Courtroom series that we have been doing about the young legal leaders in criminal defense in North Carolina. It has been a blast of a series. I love having conversations with other lawyers because there are so many lessons to take away from the way that they have built their practice, the way they have built themselves up as professionals, the way that they have built up their legal business, the way that they have built up the way that they practice in the courtroom. It has been an absolute blast having these conversations. I feel like we went through a little bit of a drought in terms of guest episodes, and it has been one right after the other here for the last couple of months, and a ton of amazing takeaways in terms of how to develop in the profession and how to develop your business on these episodes. But I wanted to focus today in thinking about the number one takeaway that I have had, and this has repeatedly come up during these past couple of months during this Warriors series with the amazing group of attorneys that I have had on the podcast here over the last 9 episodes. And the thing that these lawyers focused on as being the key, the number one thing in their practice, was not CLE hours or studying the law or reading about how to practice. And all of those things are important. The number one key to success was not their experience that they had gained over years or even decade plus of practicing and the lessons learned through, mistakes, trial and error, although that was important and is important. The number one key to success was not a marketing campaign or a Google Ads campaign or social media or billboards, radio. All of those things may have been important. Letter sending. I know that Daniel Donahue talked about letter sending, and we shared some stories about that. The key to success was not in marketing or advertising their practices. Again, although that was important. The key was not some sort of legal technology or software case management system. Again, that was important. And several people talked about some of the systems that they had used in building up their firm, but that was not the critical component. It's so interesting to think back and reflect on these recent episodes because episode after episode, conversation after conversation, the attorneys that have been sharing their thoughts and ideas and wisdom on the podcast have said that the number one thing that has allowed them to improve their practice, the number one thing that has been key to their success in their professional lives has been relationships. How killer is that? The key to their success, if they had to rank things, if you go back and listen to episodes, everybody talks about the importance of this. The key has been relationships with clients, the DAs, clerks, judges, employees, other members at the firm, other attorneys, other criminal defense lawyers. The key has been relationships. We can talk about, all of these different items for improving the practice. All of these different ways to get better at what we do as legal professionals, as legal marketers, as employers, as business owners. How can we get better? And there's all kinds of ideas. There's an endless amount of ideas to improve, but the number one key to success, as evidenced through these last 9 conversations of young leaders in the criminal defense space, has been an emphasis on the absolute priority and importance of relationships. Now, Google defines relationship as follows, as a noun whose definition is this: the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. Definition of relationship is this: the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. This is a connection, right? Relationship is about connection between two or more concepts, objects, or people. How important it is, according again to these last 9 amazing young lawyers in the criminal defense space, to be connected to other people. That is the most important aspect of growing their businesses. As leadership expert Robin Sharma says, the business of business is relationships. The business of life is human connection. I'm going to repeat that because this is just so cool and so critical. The business of business is relationships. The business of life is human connection. This is what I have heard stated over and over again during these last 2+ months from guests on the podcast. And it's just interesting because if you had asked me going into these last 9 episodes, this Warriors in the Courtroom series, I don't think that would have necessarily been the thing that I would say. This will be the number one identifier of success by my guests, collectively and repeatedly. I don't think I could have predicted this. But Robin Sharma sums it up in this quote: the business of business is relationships. That's it, guys. Business of business is relationships. The business of life is human connection. And you see that going back to the definition of relationship, right? Relationship is the state of being connected. The business of life is human connection. The purpose, the business of business is relationships. And it's just so interesting to see how each of my past few guests over the last 2+ months have really emphasized that these relationships with other defense lawyers were so critical to understanding and developing as lawyers in the courtroom. No matter how many great CLE hours you attend, no matter how much you study the law and prepare for a case, it's been repeatedly stated that the best way to be able to practice in a local area is to get to know other members in the local bar, to have other people that you can bounce ideas off of that can act as guides through the local process. Repeatedly, you've heard on the podcast from multiple lawyers how having relationships with DAs at an individual and personal level has allowed them to practice in a way that they otherwise would not be able to get a case continued or held open by text, to be able to call up a DA and explain the multiple counties that they're going to have to be in. And so, hey, can we try to work on moving this case or resolving it at a different time? You've heard about the power of relationship in the team setting, how important culture has been within the law firm, and how it is this people focus that has led to the success of the business. Focus on the clients, focus on the other members at the firm, admin, other lawyers, that this people focus has been the key to business success, the key to the success of these lawyers' firms. And that's just such a cool thing to really sit in for a minute. You know, it's so interesting because, I've already had 9 guests on this series. I've got 3 more currently scheduled. I don't know if I will keep going. I may very well keep this particular series going for a while because, in all honesty and selfishness, I'm learning so much through these conversations. But I have not had one lawyer not be interested in this conversation. It's so interesting when you just ask somebody, hey, would you be willing to talk with me about, how you developed as a lawyer? How did you get into criminal defense? What led you to law school? How have you grown your business from day one of your firm to now? How have you been a part of the business growth at the firm that you are working at? What have been the keys to creating a great culture? What have been some of the marketing initiatives that you've undertaken? How have you developed as a legal professional? How have you been able to advance the local bar that you operate in? What are the opportunities that exists for lawyers in 2024? What are some of the biggest hurdles facing criminal defense lawyers? These have been some of the main themes and questions that I have asked these amazing lawyers that have been a part of this series. And all of them have been willing to share. All of them have been willing to open up and share about their experiences, life experiences, ways that they have looked to improve themselves, to improve their legal businesses. There is a openness about sharing this information, not just with me, but with you, the audience. Putting out there publicly, these have been some of the keys to getting this to work. And that is just so amazing. It's been so amazing to see that kind of shared desire for relationship and connection. Now, I want you to take a moment. We're going to do a experiment. We're going to do a thought experiment here. And I want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving. If you're driving, keep your eyes open. But if you're not driving, close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes with you as I do this thought experiment. Close your eyes. Now, I want you to imagine the warrior of criminal defense business in your local jurisdiction, in your county, in the set of counties that you operate in on a regular basis. Picture that businessman, that businesswoman that really just seems to be running a amazing practice that is organized, prepared, seems to never be hungering for clients, seems to have an amazing way of interacting with and treating their clients, that is always looking for networking opportunities or ways of getting better. Who is that warrior of business, that young leader of criminal defense practice in your local jurisdiction? Who is that person? Think about them. Now, imagine for a minute that you are in a room with that person. You're in a room with that person. Keep your eyes closed. I've got my eyes still closed. I'm open. I'm just make sure I'm like in front of the microphone here, but keep that person in your mind and imagine that you're in a room with that individual and you have the opportunity to ask them anything about their business. You have unlimited time, unlimited opportunity to just sit down and ask them anything about their business. Now we're going to stretch this a little bit. Think about having 100 plus legal professionals that are all in that same business warrior mindset. 100 plus criminal defense professionals that are curious, interested, hungry, committed to building a better law firm, all in the same space. All in the same space, trying to figure out how to get better at the business of practicing criminal defense, how to become a better marketer, a better brander of their service, how to improve their client experience, how to create a better firm culture amongst their team. And many of their team are in the same room at the time of this, of this shared conversation. How to build a better local community through their businesses. How to become better legal leaders. Imagine you're in that space. Imagine that you have a shared opportunity to learn through an amazing lineup of speakers focusing on these specific topics. And then an opportunity to bounce the ideas presented and a whole plethora of other ideas off of the other people in that room. Now imagine that you leave that room. You walk out of that room. You've had 2 days of shared opportunity with other lawyers. You walk out of that room and now you go back to the reality of putting these ideas into practice. How are you going to implement all of the amazing ideas, the answers to some of your questions on how are other lawyers doing it? How are other lawyers getting clients? How are other lawyers improving the service? How are other lawyers able to use technology to minimize the amount of time they have to spend on a case so they actually buy back a certain percentage of their lives? They buy back freedom through the use of these specific technologies that are getting implemented. Imagine that you walk out of that room after 2 days of shared opportunity for engagement on these topics, and you go to implement. You get really excited about implementing, but you still have additional questions. You still have additional roadblocks that come in the way of getting these things done. Well, what if the community that was built out of that shared experience continued? And there was additional opportunities for shared learning, additional opportunities for asking those questions. How are other lawyers doing it? How are other lawyers getting better at their practice, getting better at their business? How are other lawyers making more money? How are other lawyers able to serve their clients better? You continue to have these questions, but there is now opportunity to have these questions brought to that same group. on a regular basis. That's the power of relationships at work. That is the business of relationships. And you can open your eyes. You can stop dreaming about this because this opportunity exists. This opportunity is real. This is the opportunity that we created at the Freedom Fighter Summit in October. The opportunity to have this shared conversation of improving as legal businesses. And we are going to continue to develop this ongoing opportunity. Yes, we're going to have a Better Freedom Fighter Summit in September. And if you have not registered for the summit and you're listening to this episode, my question to you is why? Why have you not signed up for this opportunity? This is an investment into your business. And I know a lot of people throw that word investment around, but this is an opportunity to gather with other like-minded professionals that are focused on innovation and changing the practice of criminal defense, changing and improving the lives of those in the criminal defense profession, changing the lives of our clients, the lives of our teams, the lives of our colleagues. That's what this is about. And we are going to continue to develop the opportunities to continue the conversation from Summit 2.0 in September. We're already planning Summit 3.0 in October of 2025. This is a long build. This is not about a one-time, let's get together, learn a few things, and then go our separate ways. This is a community. And I want hungry, innovative, curious criminal defense owners to be a part of this community. I want people to continue to engage in the chat room that we've built for criminal defense owners, in our workshops that we have been doing for our summit attendees, in our business book club that meets monthly. Pumped about May because Building a Story Brand is our book for May, and I love that book. But we're also going to start developing more opportunities for firm team members, for admin team in particular, to get together and bounce ideas off of each other. So the admin team members can say, how are you all doing intake? How are you all billing? What is your process for streamlining case management? What's your hiring process? What's your onboarding process? For our team members to be able to bounce these ideas off of each other, because the business of business is relationships. This is not me speaking. This is not Robin Sharma, leadership guru, speaking. This is the last 9 lawyers that I've had on the podcast that have specifically talked about how have you gotten better at your craft? How have you built a business designed to last? And the number one key, the number one priority to that for them has been through relationships. These attorneys have been from all over the state. Lawyers that practice out in the Outer Banks, Wilmington, Charlotte, Durham, Greensboro, Asheville, Waynesville, literally across the state. I can't forget Salisbury because we had 2 attorneys from Salisbury, so I won't leave Salisbury off the map. But we've literally had lawyers from across the state that have talked about the importance, the business of business being relationships. What are we building in the Freedom Fighters group is connection. That's the goal. That is the purpose for which this exists. And I've had lawyers that have asked, why are you doing this? What are you getting out of this summit? What are you doing? I think that there have been some lawyers that I have driven crazy by asking them to come to the summit. And the reason that I continually am asking, it's not to annoy people, it's not to bug people, it's because I believe in what we are building. At Summit 1.0, back in October of last year, my partners and I took a $50,000 loss in hosting that summit. $50,000 in the red from putting that summit on. This is not a money-making game. This is not a scheme as some additional way to bring in business revenue. The reason we are doing this is because, to me, individually and again, selfishly at our team, building connection with other thought leaders in the criminal defense space is the best way for us to improve our game. It is the best way for us to get better. It will be the easiest way for us to increase revenues while also increasing the experience that we bring to clients that engage our services. This is an everybody wins opportunity. And that's why I want to share it. That's why I will continually be reaching out and bugging people about this, because it is an opportunity to improve your business and, more importantly, improve your life. I love my brothers and sisters in the criminal defense bar. We engage in difficult, mentally draining, emotionally stressful work. And I so appreciate those warriors in the courtroom that are going to absolute battle on behalf of their clients. And I want us all to have better practices, to have a better opportunity for meaningful work, for work that can be sustaining and not something that causes burnout. And there's been so many great opportunities through those members of the Freedom Fighter Summit 1.0 to really think about how can we be doing this better. Moments before I got on this call, Ryan Stowe, who is one of the legal leaders mentioned, was at the summit in October, is coming back in September of this year for Summit 2.0. He's got his whole team coming with him. He's bringing his new associate, bringing his admin team. He was there with his admin team last year, hungry for getting better at the practice of law, hungry for getting better at business, bringing all kinds of amazing ideas. Ryan is like a master to me of social media and using social media to develop connection, develop relationships, put your reputation out there to the public. Ryan is such a warrior of criminal defense and going to change the way that clients expect legal services to be delivered in the counties that he practices in. He's upping the game in the counties that he practices in. But Ryan sent me moments before I got on this podcast recording a clip of a wide receiver talking. I don't remember the name of the wide receiver who he shared with me, but it was a clip of him talking about the importance of first downs and how everybody wants to cheer for the touchdown. Everybody wants to cheer for, the big bomb, the big play, and really games are won through first downs. And he was talking about, this receiver was talking about the importance of focusing on the first down. Great when the touchdown comes, but games are won through first downs. And it was such an awesome video because the same is true in life. The same is true in business. We don't have touchdowns every day. Every day that we walk into the office is an opportunity for a first down. It's the opportunity to make a first down. Take advantage of that opportunity. Don't miss out on the importance of getting the first down now, getting the first down today. But I just love that Ryan shared that with me, shared that just moments before getting on. And I have had so many recent opportunities to bounce business ideas off of other attendees of last year's summit. In the past 2 weeks, I have had no less than 10 conversations with lawyers at last year's summit about building better practices, about how to handle a specific case in the courtroom. You got to surround yourself with people that are hungry for improving the practice. If you want to get better at what you do, there's that famous mantra, you are the conglomerate of the 5 people you're closest to, the 5 people that you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with people that are hungry, curious, innovative, committed to getting better at their craft, you will as well. You will as well. It's just that putting yourself into that space with other people that are calling you to be better, that are pushing to be better. I want as many curious lawyers committed to getting better at the craft of law. I want as many lawyers as possible to be a part of this group because it's about relationships. The business of business is about relationships. The business of life is about human connection. Let's stand on business. Let's get better at business. If you haven't signed up for Summit, check it out. freedomfighters.law. Check out the Freedom Fighter Summit 2024. Register. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you next time.